Hey tribe, welcome to the Woman and Finance podcast. Today I'm very excited. I'm having a conversation with Farhana Goga. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So Farhana is a psychologist and a coach, and you have created what is called the School of Expansion.
Yes.
What is that all about? I want to expand, Farhana. Tell me all about it.
You know, I'm a business owner, obviously, and then as a psychologist and coach, I kept on working with really amazing, especially women,
Yes.
who were thriving and vibing, but every now and then, every time they needed to up level, every time they needed to go to their next place, we contract. It's a normal, natural response. So the School of Expansion is really there to help business owners, leaders, visionaries, people with really big dreams to remove the emotional barriers to success, to be able to step into their next level. And that's in life, in business, with money, in relationships, all while taking care of their mental well-being. So that's what it is.
All right. So, I've always been fascinated about, your emotions and how it impacts our finances. Why is that? There's that saying, don't make emotional decisions when it comes to money. People say that, and I'm like, no, every single decision that we make is very emotional.
Yes.
Why is that? Why are we so connected? I mean, money is numbers, it's hard rands and cents over here, and yet our emotions impact so much of that.
Hugely, right? It's the way we think about money, it's how we feel about money, it's our past experiences with money, it's experiences that our family has, it's experiences, the cultural, societal, all of that impacts our relationship with money. It should be, and my aim when I work with people and money is I leave the skill stuff to you. I leave the education stuff to you. What you actually do with money is with you. But for me, it's kind of, we have to create that neutral place. We can't make decisions based on our emotions. We have to be able to separate, okay, these are my stories around money. This is where it comes from. This is how I feel about money when I think about money, whether it's making money, spending money, investing money, growing money. This is how I feel about it. But actually, what is the neutral way? How can I get back to my center? How can I be discerning? So when I am making these money decisions, it's coming from a place of, I can see the possibilities. I feel safe. I know what I can trust. And I can make those informed decisions, so I'm not sabotaging myself. I'm not stepping on my own toes, but I can really go and embrace how I really want to make the most of my money.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting about money stories. What are some of the money stories that you've had people challenge in your practice? And normally, where do those money stories come from?
So money stories can come from a few different places. The one is our own experience. So some of it develops in our childhood experiences, what we see our parents do, what the arguments we experience. 'Cause, I mean, parents are parents, they're going to have arguments.
Yeah.
Little kids are going to hear those.
And they're quite
and they're
observant.
watching.
Yes.
And they're making they're making decisions. You can make a decision from the time you're in a womb. That's when we start making our decisions.
That is scary.
So kids make up these decisions. They make up decisions about who they are. They make up a decision about how they want to be in the world. They make up a decision about money. And that then creates what we call our subconscious. So the primal part of our brain making all these decisions, that then runs our programming for the rest of our life. Can you imagine? Before we age 7, we've already got our programming.
Oh my word.
So that's one layer. Then if you want to get a little bit more complicated, we also inherit from previous generations. So we inherit, it's been scientifically proven that it's 7 generations.
7 generations.
That's scientifically proven. my experience in my intergenerational work, it's far beyond. So we inherit all their trauma, all their difficulties, all the struggles that they have. We also inherit their wisdom. Okay.
Thank God. There's a positive.
We inherit their wisdom,
yes.
right? So we've got that. Then we've got these 7 years. Then we've got, we only create our adult brain from between the age of 24 and 27. So then we've got that whole period of teenage years, young adult years, where we're also engaging with the world. We exploring who we want to be. We're getting experiences. We're having relationships. We potentially learning how to use the little pot of money that we have if we start working. All of these also then start building on our money stories. Then, of course, as an adult, we have all the experiences that we have. So getting married is an experience. And how do we talk about money in our relationship? Getting divorced is an experience. How do we navigate that?
Having children,
yes. Right? And how do you then also have conversations with children? How do you start breaking some of those patterns that we inherit and have new conversations? And then in our country, the most amazing thing is so many of my clients are like first generation wealth creators and trying to navigate, well, how do I navigate like my family system? How do I create wealth for me and my family? How do I create intergenerational wealth? So these are all money stories and money conversations that we need
and
to
now
have.
add social media to it.
Add social media to it,
where it has added a dynamic of perhaps looking at, my PA here to pay and saying, oh my gosh, he's living this type of lifestyle. And I mean, now you have to navigate between your generational trauma and the wisdom, thankfully. You have to navigate your own growth as a person, but also now you're looking to your peers and colleagues and people on social media. How does one truly navigate their own money story that serves them, despite of all the baggage that can come with being the first generation of someone who is building wealth?
So the first one is creating awareness. We always start with everything with awareness. So I like to start people off kind of with excitement, because it's only when we feel excited do we want to know more.
Absolutely.
Right? So for me, the first place that I start with is using archetypes. So there's a group of archetypes that I use. It's called the Sacred Money Archetypes. I mostly love the name. That was the first. That was my first pull. It's like sacred money. Oh, that sounds sexy. So it's to understand your archetype, and all that an archetype is a group of the way we think about something and the way we feel and what we then do, our action. That's all an archetype is. So using the Sacred Money Archetypes, there's 8 archetypes. That's where I like to start, because what that then allows people to go and accept is, oh, I'm not alone. So the first place is, oh, I'm not alone. So there's 8. So the first one is the Accumulator. The Accumulator is, the other way I'd like to see the Accumulator is the banker. So on the surface, the Accumulator is our ideal. So the Accumulator is the one who makes a lot of money, saves a lot of money,
invests a lot of money.
So that's the tricky part of an accumulator, because an accumulator gets quite anxious in spending money. And investing is also part of spending money. So an accumulator needs to create a sense of safety, because we all have to go back to safety. When we talk about this money neutral place, one of the core things is safety. We have to move from fear into safety. So an accumulator is needs to kind of go, what actually feels safe inside me? What do I feel safe? How much money do I need to see in my bank account that I feel safe? Once you have that, like, okay, so anything above that, I'm going to now invest.
I actually have a friend like that. Like that. She is a brilliant accumulator, high earner, professional, really just a go-getter. But when it comes to investing, she always says, I do not want to lose money. Give me anything that does not require a lot of risk. So with her, it's always money market, it's always safety in bonds, or having some sort of, an endowment investment where you know that your capital is guaranteed, something like that. So she's an accumulator. Oh wow, okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect example.
I can't wait to see myself in
perfect
this.
example. Then you have an alchemist.
Okay,
so an alchemist is our idealist. The idealists, they're transformative, they're creative, they love creating ideas, right? And what they need to learn is, how do I actually make money from my ideas? How do I take my ideas and generate financial success?
Yeah.
So, and this is often very hard for them because they're so full of ideas that someone goes, oh, what do you think of this? And they'll rattle off 10 things that the person can do.
Yes.
And their challenge is, well, can you charge people for your ideas? Can you charge people? And they get very anxious about that because for them, they don't think that there's
value perhaps in their ideas.
Yeah. Well, or that if they recognize the value, but they kind of go, but this is so natural, it's so easy for me. And so they have to learn. And for them, money feels easy. Money feels like they don't know how, they feel like they don't know how they create it. They just happens.
Just do.
And so they kind of go, but like, now you're telling me to charge for something that I'd like, but money's just there.
Yeah.
And so they have to learn to charge for their ideas. They have to learn to pause and look, okay, so how is my money coming in, and how can I use that to make more?
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to learn.
Okay, that's the alchemist.
Yes.
All right.
Then there's the celebrity, and when you spoke about social media earlier, I was like, that's what it is. So celebrities are people who get their value from being seen. So they spend a lot of money on being seen.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily, most of the time, they're not saving any money. They're not putting away money for like investments.
Yeah. An emergency investing.
Yep. Because money
it comes in now. Let me show people that I have more than enough of it.
Yes.
And that's where we want the adoration, the respect, and feeling fulfilled, like, oh goodness, did you see how they looked at me today?
Correct. Yeah. So when we go to what is at the core of that, and what do they need to heal, because obviously all of these, there's a healing that needs to be done, right?
It's very important. Very important. I like that. With every archetype, there is a healing that needs to happen.
Yeah, there's a gift that we need to learn to use, and we spoke about the alchemist gifts. But with every archetype, there's also a healing.
Why is it so much work, this healing thing?
You know,
I mean, I'm just honest.
But it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But and part of what I do at the School of Expansion is to kind of go, can we make the work we all need to do fun?
Yes.
Can we do it so it's not dreary and tough, but it can actually, we can enjoy it.
I like even what you mentioned earlier, that once you get someone excited, that's when they get involved in the process.
Yeah. And you know, if you want to get anywhere in life, if you really want to get anywhere in life, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
You have to do the work.
I like that. You have to do the work.
So all right. Do the work.
So
that's a celebrity.
One. Yeah.
So then we've got the connector. I'm a connector. So connector is, we're trusting, we rely on things like credit cards, we rely on other people, we wish that we didn't have to think about money, that it wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We want to do lovely things in the world, but we wish that money didn't exist.
Yes.
So
And
that's
that
a
it wasn't
connector.
such an important
And it was
part.
such an important
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
that's a connector. I'm a connector. Then we've got the Maverick.
Yes.
So the Maverick is what I call the inner rebel. So a Maverick is the person who takes high risks. The person who can build something up and then burn it to the ground. Right?
Sounds radical.
Right? And what they have to learn is I've got to create some kind of financial stability. And so I've got to put money into those, what Accumulator finds so easy. I've got to put money into these tried and tested and boring ways.
Yes.
And then I can put a little bit of money into my risks. So a lot of Mavericks do things like put all their money into stocks and trading and crypto. And it's kind of like, yes, do that, but also make sure you're doing some of that stable.
Yeah, the safety net stuff.
The safety net stuff.
And I mean, I see a lot of entrepreneurs have that where they'll say, no, but you know what, my business is my investment, that's my retirement plan, I know that. And sometimes things just don't work out.
Yeah, you have
to have a balance between the safety stuff, the boring stuff, and the exciting stuff that really blows the lights out. And I mean, for me, that's the stuff that excites me as well.
Yeah. So then there's the nurturer. I'm also a nurturer.
Yes.
So in my money, so with our money personality, once you've got your archetypes, and there's 8, and once you've got how they fall, your top 3 archetypes combination becomes your personality.
So it's not just one. I like that.
So we use the top 3, and then we use our last one to bring the balance in. So none of my top 3 are money making machines.
Yes.
So, but all archetypes, there's a key on how you make money in all the archetypes. There's a key on how you make money, keep money, grow money, spend money, and you just have to learn it, right? So the nurturer, also my archetype, is the carer. It's the person who, even if they don't have money, they'll still find money to give to someone. They'll rather give to someone than not. So they'd rather go, that person needs it more, so I'll give them, it's okay. I can eat beans on toast.
Yes, whatever is left of the house, I'll go by with that. And they always just want to give, and okay.
So that's the nurturer. Then we have the romantic. Also one of mine.
What a combo.
Exactly, my top 3. And the romantic is the person who likes luxury. The person who wants life to be easy, enjoys the beauty of things, happily will walk into a shop and buy something just because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we have a lot of romantics here.
And then
I can see someone over there.
Yes, I can also see someone over there. Oh, that sounds like me.
That sounds like very much like me.
And then we've got the last archetype, which is the ruler.
Yes.
And the ruler is the empire builder. So the ruler is going to burn themselves out trying to make money. That's what the ruler is going to be. Maybe you have a ruler tendency too. So the ruler is going to go, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to do all of these things. I'm going to take so much on my plate.
Why are you attacking me? Farhana is attacking me right now, but okay.
I'm just like, see, I've just like barely met you, and I know all about you. And they have to learn, how do I create my empire without burning out? How do I put systems in place so I don't burn out?
Yeah. 100%. I have nothing to say about this right now. But for me, I think my one of my downfalls, I don't know, maybe it's a heavy word, but for me, it's always saying you can do more, right? And if I'm just sitting, I'm like, why are you just sitting? Are you the multimillionaire that you want to be? You could be doing something right now.
Absolutely, and that's such a typical ruler. So, I mean, I'd be really curious. I should have got you to do your archetype.
Yeah, actually.
So I would kind of go, there will be something else either in your top 3 or in your last one that you can bring in to balance it. So, so my last one is an accumulator. Okay, that's my last one. That's my lowest score. Okay, but my lowest score is the one that I can pull in to balance all the ones that want to help people and kind of doesn't want to think about money and just wants to go off and buy luxuries. My accumulator can come in and balance them. So my challenge to you would be, of course, go off and do all of those things. Please go off and do all of those things. And if you came to me as a client, I would go off and do all of that.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that there's self-care? How do we make sure that you're taking enough breaks? How do we make sure that you sitting in the sun and having a cup of coffee, even while you're thinking about all of that? So it's not don't do, it's do while taking care of yourself.
I love that. So Farhana, those were the 8 archetypes, right? How can people get access to this? Because I can imagine, even as I'm sitting, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go do this.
So I have a free quiz.
Yes.
So it's free.
Okay.
We'll
put it in the description where to find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So how does psychology impact especially women, when it comes to their careers, when it comes to their finances? Like you're saying, you see a lot of women specifically, and even men, because we do have men on this channel, who you are at a certain point in your career and you know that you want more and you know that you should be moving to the next level, but there's some sort of a barrier. How does one get over that? Maybe I'm even asking for myself.
So it goes, so as I said earlier, the first part is awareness. And the awareness starts with, actually, it's okay for me to take the time to look at the stuff that is hard, the stuff that I'm scared of. So start off, just as a practical thing, right, is start off with a brain dump of, this is what I'm really scared of.
Yeah.
And you go, and you write it all. And then don't judge it. Don't get overwhelmed by it. It's information. It's just data. Okay? Then the next part of the brain dump is to write down, in your ideal life, what does your ideal life look like?
Yeah.
Right? And to really spend that time exploring it, feeling it, imagining what a week would be. People often go a day. I'm like, you don't do everything you want in a day.
Yeah.
You might do it in a week, So what would your ideal week look like? What does it feel like? What are you doing? Where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your energy? What are you thinking about? So you start off with that. So you have excitement, you have that building up, you know where you're heading. Then the third thing to do is to kind of go, if I got that, what am I scared of? What am I scared I'm going to lose? And often things that will come up in terms of scared I'm going to lose some friends.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my identity. What if
people will think I've changed?
People will think I've changed. What if I'm not there for my kids, my husband, my family, my whatever? Well, if I make that amount of money, does that mean I have to move? Do I really like my neighborhood? All of that becomes what we call the negative consequences. So what are the negative consequences of you getting what you want? Once again, you don't get overwhelmed by it. It's just data. That becomes the the information that allows us to do the work that we need to do. And the way we do that work is slowly, gently, with kindness, and with no nonsense.
And with no nonsense. I like that little bit, like just add a little bit of spice to it.
Because we can change our limiting beliefs. We can change the impact of trauma. So trauma is something that happened to us that makes us feel ick. And some of that is big T trauma and some of it's little t trauma. So big T trauma is, you know, the horrible things that happen in the world.
Yeah.
But if something makes you feel ick, that's probably some kind of trauma, and it's going to mean that you're going to have some kind of trauma response, which is going to sabotage you. So we need to look at our thoughts. We need to look at what are our behavioral patterns that can get in the way. What are our feelings about things? All of these can be changed.
Why do we sabotage ourselves?
We sabotage ourselves mostly unintentionally. We sabotage ourselves because our brain-body system, which is our command center, our brain-body system, its only aim is to keep us safe. It's the only aim. So it kind of looks at something and goes, well, that's unfamiliar. What you're wanting is really unfamiliar. So because it's unfamiliar, it can't be safe. So we have to teach and help our brain-body system to feel safe with the unfamiliar. And that's where like my brain tools come in, my wealth matrix methodology tools come in. The entire idea is to help our brain-body system to feel safe, to expand its capacity for safety, to expand its comfort zone. We do not step out of our comfort zone. If we step out of our comfort zone, at some point it's going to come and hit us.
And say, I'm getting danger here.
Yes. So we have to continuously keep expanding our brain-body system in its capacity to hold different things so that it can feel safe, right? Because if it doesn't feel safe, it's going to sabotage you.
And you keep on going back to the same habits over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What about someone who, let's say they're 40 or 50, right? And we'll talk about even younger people, because 40 is still young and 50, right? What if you're at the age of 50, you've been trying to change and it doesn't seem that you can be consistent in trying to be this person that you want to become? How does one truly go about that?
So you have to get the support.
Yeah.
Right? Without support, we're not going to go anywhere. And it has to be the right support. It has to be the support that can be very clear on that's where you want to go. Okay, so let's systematically build your system. Let's have the difficult conversations that you might need to have in your family system, so that you can take everyone on board with you.
What if the family is not, it's a very supportive family? They say, well, we're all like this in this family. We've just been poor for the rest of our lives, and everybody, it's a generational thing. What are you trying to do?
Those are what I call my change makers. And with my change makers, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Right? If you're breaking something and no one is supporting you, no one is we have your back, it's even more important that you have the right people in place. It's even more important that you get the right support. It's even more important that you do the limbic system work so that your system feels safe, so that you can feel, because you always belong, even if you don't fit in. So you don't fit into that family, but you still belong into that family. But you need to create other spaces that can really support you.
Yeah.
And you need that person beside you holding your hand. Otherwise, it's too hard. but you can change at any point in your life.
Say that again, please. You can change.
You can change and transform.
Why is it so hard for us to actually, truly internalize it and believe that actually I can change? I can become the person that I know I want to become, the person that I dreamt of as a young person that I would be. Because, another thing I've realized, Farhana, every single time I do some sort of a coaching session and someone is either in their 30s, even some people in their late 20s, which is still quite pretty young, right? In their 40s, 50s, people will say to me, literally someone said this to me this week, said, Mapalo, I thought that by the age of 40, I'll be a multimillionaire, I would have retired, but life happened.
Yeah.
And when you are talking to these people, you can sense there's a sense of hopelessness. Mm-hmm. There's a sense of maybe my time is gone.
No, our time is never gone.
Yeah.
Our time is never gone. You can change. You can go from being in debt, and if you look online, you'll see it, because there's so many beautiful examples. That's the beauty of social media now, is there are examples. But you can go from being horrendously in debt to being a multimillionaire in 10 years. It is possible, which means that you can start that at any stage of your life. But it does take the commitment. It does take looking at your inner beliefs, your patterns. It does take going, I feel a little bit helpless or hopeless, or I feel like I'm in my 40 and I'm too young. I am going to do it. I'm committing to myself. I'm having my own back.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the right support to help me change my belief system, to help me develop that self-trust. I'm going to get, so that's our inner work. Then to get the outer work. The outer work is, well, maybe I need a business coach. Maybe I need a financial coach. Maybe I need, that's the outer work. But you have to do the inner work. Because if you have, and I'm sure you've seen it with people that you work with, they come, you give them, you look at their stuff and you go, oh, this is how I can see you getting where you want to go.
Yeah.
You give them this amazing plan, these amazing ideas, and they look at you and they do nothing.
I will give an example. There's actually one I refunded, right, recently. As we're going through the process, you have to send all your information. Then they keep on sending bit by bit. And you're like, it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. This is a trusting process where, just you are already here and you're paying for this. You might as well show me all your information.
So probably what's happening with that person is that there's a fear of judgment. There's a fear of failure. There's also a fear of success. And there might be some kind of trauma, either in themselves or in their system. When I say system, I'm talking about their generational system, their intergenerational system, societal system,
and relationships,
yes. Where there's something about trust. So where they've either over trusted and they've gotten burnt,
yes.
or they hyper independent, which is also just a coping mechanism. So which is why when we're looking at any of this, whether it's business success or whether it is looking at our finances, when we're looking at any of this, we also have to look at what are the other things that are there, and you have to address that. So that's why I'm saying it has to be the combo of the skills and of the information and the inner work.
You keep on mentioning something, trusting yourself. How do you build trust in yourself as an individual? Let's say you promised yourself, okay, this is the year I do this and this, and all of these things that we often say, especially at the beginning of the year, right?
Yes.
How do you incrementally build trust in yourself? One of the things I said to a friend of mine at the beginning of the year, I said, I want to do the things that I've promised myself I will do this year? Is it one of the ways in which we learn to trust ourselves?
Yeah. So self-trust is interesting because you have to, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
And so with every muscle, we have to use it, we have to build it. We have to start small and then follow through. We have to celebrate following through. Because without the celebration, your system's going, but that was really hard for me. And like, you're just taking that for granted. So we have to build.
I am so hard on myself. I've actually just realized that whole rewarding of self for consistently doing something that you promised yourself.
We have to reward ourselves. And it's not rewarding ourselves. Like, you know, like corporates, okay? They have an amazing, at the end of the year, reward.
Yes,
right?
the bonus.
The bonus, or like the award ceremony and the recognition ceremony. No one can wait that long. We're not built that way.
I'm that same. No, I'm that way where I'm like, okay, at the end of the year, or when I hit that specific thing, then okay.
So, which is, we need to, when we hit something, we need the reward. But if your goal, if you're starting at 100K and you kind of going, when I hit 700K, I'm going to reward that. Your system is going, I can't comprehend that.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what are the little goals in between? And at each stage, how do we reward ourselves? We have to reward ourselves. We have to, and when I say reward ourselves, it doesn't mean you're spending lots of money on rewarding ourselves.
Yes.
It's kind of, how do I celebrate at each stage?
How do I celebrate myself in these small wins along the way?
How do I celebrate? I've made this promise to myself. I'm following on all of these things. But in order for me to get to that goal, that is my ultimate goal for this year, there's a whole bunch of things I'm going to put into place. How am I celebrating that?
Yeah.
How am I honoring that? And then as we do it, it's to also then internalize that sense of satisfaction and to acknowledge I did that and I'm safe. And to use affirmations like, because remember, our system won't continue doing something unless it feels safe. So we've got to do the inner work. We've got to do that subconscious transformation. Then we've got to do our action so we can get the results that we're wanting, right? But how do I acknowledge and continue to make myself feel safe is also by using things like, it's safe for me too. So it's safe for me to feel safe. It's safe for me to take this next step. It's safe for me to take that risk. It's safe for me to feel safe. Because our system has to keep learning and to keep hearing that it's safe. So to use affirmations that are safe. But it's not, with affirmations, it's not using affirmations in a vacuum. You know, it's not going, I am a multi-millionaire, but like inside your body is saying, ha 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 ha. That's not going to get you anywhere.
True.
Right?
True.
But if it's kind of like, actually, I am a multi-millionaire. Oh, I feel a little bit of contraction there. Or, oh, there's a part over there that feels safe. Let me lean into the part that feels safe. Let me spend some time with a part that doesn't feel safe and just kind of get a sense of what is going on for you. What is, and that's a learned skill, right?
But why is it so hard also for us to sit still and really listen? Because I've done that exercise where thankfully I've reached, a meal or two, whatever. But then when I spoke of higher numbers, it almost felt like it was a lie on one part of myself. And I said, oh, what is that?
Whenever we're up leveling, whenever we're leveling up, we're going to encounter those limits. And those limits are our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, whether it's possible for us.
Yeah.
So each time we're up leveling, we're gonna have to do work. It might be the same work that we've done previously. It might be a different kind of work.
Dropping gems over gems and gems. I just love that expansion, and I think it's something that we all can work on. And I love the fact that you're saying it's a muscle.
It's muscle.
It's something that you can actually work on, right? You can work on this, tribe. I have a very interesting question. So a couple of months ago, I attended, actually it was last year, an event where it was really powerful women, really people just going for their dreams, that sort of thing. And there's a lady who asked a question. I was like, oh my gosh, someone has finally said what I've been thinking about, but never knew how to vocalize, right? I didn't have the words for it. And her question was, she feels like when she was younger, I think she was in her late 30s, maybe early 40s. She said she felt like when she was younger, she was bolder. She was much more of a go-getter. She was just fearless. And sometimes I feel like that myself. I feel like, I just had so many ideas, so many possibilities. Yes, I'm still working towards my dreams, and thankfully I've achieved a few of those. But I don't know, there's a sense of just kind of pulling back, if I can call it that. What do you call that, and how does one just bolster through also, those?
That's such a cool question. So the one thing I'm going to say is you don't bolster through.
Oh, okay. Trust me to want to just...
You don't. And the reason is, so there's two, I'm going to answer that in two ways.
Yes.
So the one is that younger version of yourself is probably your true self. It's probably who you are at the core.
Yeah.
Okay?
I love that. It gives me so much joy of hearing that.
So we harness that
and
we activate that part, right? At the same time, if we go back to what we started off with, like those limiting beliefs, those patterns, those behaviors, the things that we experienced and the decisions that we made when we were younger, as we get older, they become stronger. They become a stronger voice. So we have to pause and we have to look at those. We have to look at those limiting beliefs. We have to look at those patterns. We have to look at those fears and we have to transmute them. We have to change them so we can alchemize them and move them into that activated self. But it comes from a different place. It isn't that bolster through that you once thought in your 20s. 20s are fantastic age. It's not the bolster through, but it comes from like a embodied place. And it feels like this is just who I am. And I'm doing this because I feel so secure in myself. And I trust myself. So it's working to shift those limiting beliefs, activating that old self, so that you can create an even more expanded, secure, alchemized self.
I know I said we are about to get done, but just another question which just came to my mind about imposter syndrome, right? Because you have this self who you actually are at your core. Then I don't know. I mean, I've been in this profession doing what I do, and sometimes I still have that imposter syndrome that shows up, and I'm like, where did you come from?
We're going to experience imposter syndrome throughout our lives. We're going to experience imposter syndrome every time we're up leveling. So our aim with imposter syndrome is to just acknowledge it, acknowledge what it is. Sometimes imposter syndrome is a real indication of, I have a missing skills gap. I need to fill my skills gap. And sometimes it's kind of the fear. It's a fear of, I'm not good enough. It's a fear of, I'm not enough. It's a fear of, I'm not worthy. It's a fear of, what if I'm really as successful as I think I am? What if I can really get to all the dreams that I really want? So that's where the inner work, I keep coming back to my inner work, right? But that's where the inner work comes. And that's why it's an ongoing process. That's why we don't stop the inner work. Because every time we're going to up level, every time we're moving to the next place, we're going to encounter these. And have you come this far to stop?
Yeah.
Or have you come this far to kind of going, I'm going further?
Yeah. Oh, so good. Okay, anything else you think our listeners need to know, learn about when it comes to leveling up and money mindset and how to actually just improve their overall lives?
So the one thing is you can change. I'm looking directly at them.
Yeah.
So you can change at any point in your life. It takes courage, and you need to make sure you have the right support. The other thing is look at your finances. Look at it. Take the time. What's coming in? What's going out? Look at it. Thank money for all that it gives you.
Yeah.
Thank it. Be grateful for it. Show appreciation to it. Go do the money quiz, because that's going to give you some insights into what's happening, what your innate abilities are, what your pitfalls are, what your gifts are, and take the time. It's not that scary to look at our stuff. It feels scary, but it doesn't have to be scary. It feels difficult, but it doesn't have to be difficult. Yes, there are going to be negative consequences, but with the right support, you can navigate that. With knowing and having those conversations, you can get through it.
Yeah.
Start somewhere.
Farhana, I feel like I was, you know how normally movies portray going to a psychologist and, you know, you sit and, you know, you talk about all of your problems. I feel like I've just been on that chair today. And I know definitely my tribe is feeling the very same way. Thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you for giving us all this information and just giving us that hope that you can change, that you can, you know, look at your finances and get to the other side.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Google me.
Google her. She's
Just
Googleable.
I'm Googleable. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find
Even
me
on her website.
website.
Yeah, we'll put the link to your website on the description.
So just Google me. You'll find me.
And you saw the proof is in the pudding. I'm definitely gonna book myself a session after this. Thank you so much for watching, tribe. Remember, if you like this video, please remember to subscribe, and if you're listening via podcast, remember also to subscribe and share it with the rest of your family and friends. Cheers for now.